we just show up and chat, help each other with challenges we were going through, either specific technical challenges or career challenges or life challenges as they related to data science work or data work. What am I getting at? We've agreed that we should go back to that at least once a month, because we didn't want to be in perpetual guest mode either. So it worked out perfect to have Susan come later in September and going ahead and have at least the last weekend in August where we go back to just having an open time where we're helping each other with things we're being challenged with. So with that said,
Tom,
yes.
Sorry, go ahead, please. You can continue.
No. Oh, I was just going to say, we're going to have one of those
yes.
today. Go for it.
Okay. I have one question. It's about Manpreet. Is she joining today or not? According to your...
I thought she was, but the hard part for many of our Indian friends is this is their family evening time. Yeah. So it's 9:37 there now, and she wants to come, but her family loves her being part of this. They're saying, can't there be a balance? So I did expect her to be here, so I'm surprised she's not this morning.
Okay. I just want to what I told you for everyone here, guys. Please go and check the Slack channel, the job announcement. I make a post there. If anybody is interested, he is able to check that job and apply online. The environment is nice, but for sure if he is willing to relocate, because it will be in Berlin. So this is something that for you, if it's in the company that I work for with Bayer in Berlin. So this is the first. The second, I want to tell you that funny part. If nothing to start with, I will start with it. Okay, you know that I moved to Germany 2 months back almost, but whenever you ask me or Tom asked me about how you find Germany, I told him I'm in home. I don't know. So last week I got the chance to go for a dinner with the team. That means the full department was there, almost 60 person. And it was a nice place. So I was very happy that, okay, I will see how the picnic look like in Germany. But I forgot small detail to inform everybody about my, let's say, my food information, what's possible to be drink and what's possible to be eat. So I was very happy on that picnic, but just like someone who's fasting, because there is no any drink without alcohol. And this is something that I cannot drink. So I didn't drink anything. And I only eat sweet potato. So it was nice, hungry 4 hours. Okay, this is what's happened last week. So whenever, okay, there is a message behind that. Okay, whenever you are poor, don't be poor to express yourself. Tell them what you need before you go.
Absolutely. When I was a young man, that would have sent me into depression. Now that I'm older, I just pull out my almonds and I'm good until the next meal. Oh, that's funny. That is funny.
I have one friend. I have one friend who you know him perfectly, Tom. And there is multiple kinds of alcoholic drinks available. So he was trying to just tease me or something. Each time he asked me, even this you cannot drink? And he knows that I cannot drink. But each time he's asked me, maybe 4 or 5 times he asked me, this you cannot drink.
I can see Giuseppe doing it. Well, if you've just joined, we had a really special guest for today, but I talked to her about some things that were going on, and it's actually going to be better to have her in late September because her book will be out by then, and she's actually going to read to us from that book. And everybody clapped because I know Timothy Gordon has been swamped and he just joined us. So Timothy, we're just having an open discussion time today.
And I sent Tim a message, and I don't know if he saw my message. I think he didn't.
I think he will.
Tim has been very busy, and
he has been very busy. Yes.
All right, Tim. Hello.
He'll come on. So, is there something that someone? And by the way, if you've never experienced this part of our family, Guy, going ahead.
Yes, I want to start by this. It's a story about someone from our family. I'm not going to name who's doing that, but what he or she. I'm not going to determine. It was great. This person was looking for moving out of his country, relocating to another country, and trying to find a job anywhere, maybe in USA, Europe, or UK. And we together plan for something. We try to do multiple things. And then suddenly the decision comes from his side that, okay, I decided to stay in India. Okay, now this is small determination. And because I have a lot of plans in India, I want to cover it before getting on that. And I'm enjoying here. I cannot lose what I have. Even with the job vacancy that I posted on the Slack channel, his response was the same. And he know that if he told me, I will try to help him. Okay. But his response was the same. This is really great. This is a real lesson. When you have a plan, don't break your plan, even if there is something looking great for you. But your plan, it was made for better reason. I really respect this decision from this person. So, and one day I will ask him to speak about that because it's really great.
Great. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yes, sure.
And boy, this is actually a good thing we might want to talk about. For example, I know someone going through some interviews. They're a top candidate, but they're really having a healthy attitude about it. They're already in a good role. This would be an increase in pay and a more a higher type role. And they're very excited, but they're also like, yeah, I may not get this one. That's why I'm looking at 4 other companies. I was like, oh, perfect. And yeah, I mean, this is a great company. They're going to let me work remote, but it's local too. It's a step up in pay and responsibility and get to bring up a program from scratch. But even though they're telling me I'm a very strong candidate, I know I might not get it still. And that's with all opportunities in our lives. When you're going for something, we usually are being compared to other potential candidates. Just getting the interview is an honor. When a recruiter reaches out to you, take that as a positive. If you're at a point in your career where recruiters aren't reaching out to you, but you're applying a lot. I had another friend who was being very poorly treated at her, I'll say her company. And she just had enough. And when she explained to me what was going on, I said, yeah, you need to get out of there. She applied to 150 positions, got 3 offers, accepted 1. And it was great, but it did take work to do that. It's really embarrassing to have a daughter that's late. I don't understand where she got this habit from, but she's obviously so embarrassed at how late she is that she's off camera. She knows who she is. Anyway.
No, it's not because of that. My camera settings are not working.
I'm just teasing you.
Okay, this is Tom, what you told us right now, not about your daughter. The story that you told us. It's telling us, it's, let's say, put me in front of the concept of trust. Whenever we are looking for a job, or this is something, it's very important for me. We are not trying, okay, trust is the key. That means we are not proving anything to anybody. Whenever we are sure about ourselves, we are proof whatever we want to prove to ourselves. We don't need to prove that for anybody. That means, okay, the job interview, it's a kind of finding a way to adapt yourself to this company and how this company can help you. It's not your test. It's not testing you. Just, however, if you are okay, if you are possible to work with them, you will be happy for that or not. But it's not test. This is the most important concept, because if you consider it as a test, you'll go nervous and you will lose your trust, and this will reflect on you and in the interview and after the interview, whatever it was the process. So I think trust here is important, and it's something that we build by ourselves. It's not the feeling that it's coming from the sky. No, something we build from our study, from our behavior, from all of this. And once we get that feeling, we know how to express ourselves. It's not, let's say, it's different from being arrogant, for example. No, it's not like this. Trust, it's something important. We have to get it.
That's great. Anything to add to that, anyone? So if you've joined a little late, we had a guest for today. We agreed. I talked to her. She's going to come later in September because her book will be out by then, and she's going to read to it from us. So we'll get advanced content from the book. But the stewards have been talking about doing this again, like we did in the early days. We just show up to help one another with issues of our careers and our lives, but also we can go into technical questions here, but that's usually why we have the Tech Time chat. So just if you've shown up and you've been wondering, oh, who's the guest today? Well, that hasn't always how we've done things. This is how we started out, just doing this. So okay, good, you go.
Okay, so I have been following Dennis' posts on LinkedIn and a couple of other posts that he's been doing. And it seems to me that in the next 2-3 years, from the way the post sounds, we might not have a lot of projects in the neural network space using the ANN and CNN and RNN we are used to. So it appears we are going to be dinosaurs very soon. And we have to now start learning transformers. So I just want to know, would that be a correct premise? Should we be worried? Is there a path? Because it seems the transformer path is also new. I've actually been looking for video courses around it, but I have not found any. So I have Dennis' book, and I have 1 or 2 other books on it, but I still think I need a whole video experience to, complement what I'm doing with those books. But is this something we should be worried about?
I'm really glad you asked this question. I would say this even if Dennis were here. I love Dennis. I love talking to him. I take a lot of advice from him. He doesn't like me calling him my big brother, but he really is. He's a good mentor to me. He's helping Gaith and I as we need it with our book. He's agreed to be an expert reviewer. I know I give this analogy a lot, but I love it. If your intent is to take that longest hikeable trail from you can go either way, of course, but I always think of starting at the tip of South Africa and hiking all the way up through Africa, through Eastern Europe, and then through the Stans and and Russia and out to the Russian East Coast. It'd take you 3.5 years. And I imagine it would be an amazing life experience. Would you, if you really wanted to see everything along the way, would you accept someone giving you an airplane ride to skip 1,000 miles of it? I wouldn't, because then I would miss that scenery. But it's even more poignant when we talk about our education as data scientists. It's this spirit. Ask yourself, do I really understand how to develop a pipeline? Do I really know how to put code in production? There's going to be a place for basic machine learning for a long time to come. However, yes, you should learn basic neural networks. You should learn CNNs. I would just look at RNNs, but not try to use them. I never liked them. I was always thinking of ways to get around using RNNs when I was imagining things. Literally, when I studied transformers and when Marchin was helping me and when we had that learning guild to learn transformers, I still think they're great. But we're in the early days of transformers, and if you want to get really good at transformers, you need to understand the basics. So will you be wasting time getting really good at linear and logistic regression? Absolutely not, especially if you understand those from scratch. Will you be wasting time understanding basic neural networks and help me guide, graph neural networks where all the nodes are connected? Absolutely not. Those are important stepping stones to truly appreciating transformers. Will you waste time learning basic NFT and word vectorization and all that? No, all of that's super important to understanding transformers. So keep going is all I'm saying. Stay on the trail. Don't take any airplane rides way ahead of, because then you won't appreciate the 1,000 miles that you missed and you won't understand it as well. So that's my take on it. But Guy, what would you add to that?
I will add after Manpreet. Let her speak first.
What I believe is with changing times that OpenAI have launched Codex as well. Coding would be easy, and we would have abundance of data and already trained things. But the USP would be how someone could build something, a product that can serve the society on the existing products, and that would be different because now things would depend on how end-to-end the products are built and are into production, how well they're performing, their privacy issues, and all of that. So that's what I think would be the USP in coming times, that what different product you are building from the existing.
Okay, my ad, it's like the following. Yes, you have to be worried, but not about the product or the models that you use RNN for them or the CNN for them. You have to be wary of not updating yourself always. It's not about how much transformers it is. And by the way, there is many of modeling methods and algorithms. I don't think there is one person who apply all of them in his life. Understanding and learning, it's not always applying. And even if he applied for testing, just to check, to understand it better. But for example, for myself, no, I don't have any product or any project I work for it that cover all the algorithms, for example. But always you have, yes, it's great to understand that transformers, to work on it, to check the possibilities for it. But still, we are just like what Tom said, we are in the early days. There is a lot of use cases. You find that it's too much to use transformer for it, especially if we are talking about the GPT-3. But there is other algorithms that can help you. Maybe somebody find it very strange, but let's say decision trees and random forest, they are still widely used, and it's somehow there is a lot of improvement to it, but still we are using it. And they are doing great. So what is the business that you have? Or what is the use case? It's determined, and what's the resources that you are able to use? It's determined what kind of algorithm you are going to use. Now, this is from production point of view. From learning point of view, I agree totally with Tom. It's a nice journey to go from the basics, from the whatever way, the point that you are going to start, starting from linear algebra in general, starting from the concept of how the concept of linear regression it's helping, and then go ahead to understand the full process. It's nice journey. It's enriching the human minds in general, not only your professional needs. So don't jump immediately. Please don't jump. It's not an order. It's a request. Now for Dennis, we have to think about Dennis. He's a great person. I don't want to say that. There is one bad point I want to highlight it here, but it's not about Dennis. It's about what's pushing him to highlight this transformers importance now. It's his book. He's doing great job by having this book. He's have a lot of things, but his book right now in the marketing phase. So he wants to focus on that. And this is his right. This is what he has to do. But what that mean? It means study the transformers. But don't make decisions according to Dennis or to Gaith or to Tom. Find your way to find the decision.
It's great to learn transformers, but not really so much before you understand the basics that they're built on. That's the important thing here. And I want to give another example from history, and I bet we could find even more examples than this. So have any of you heard the term finite element analysis? It's a way to analyze things with tiny elements. You've seen my integration posts, and I'm talking about adding up very small, thin areas under a curve. That's a type of integration. But sometimes we're trying to study things that are very complicated in physics in general, like strength of materials. So we've designed an object, and we want to know if we apply stresses and forces at these different points, will that part hold up? Well, finite element analysis, which was around when I was an undergrad, it's been around for not long, but a while now. It divides these virtual objects up into very small, tiny elements, finite element analysis. And it creates these giant matrices to understand the forces and the stresses traveling through the part. Well, after a while, the packages that would divide these virtual objects up into these little elements, they got really good. They were easier to use, and managers looking over the shoulder of some highly paid engineer was seeing them get the work done faster and it be clearer. And they thought, well, now with this kind of software, I don't need an expensive engineer to do this analysis for us. What do you think they discovered? If you've got an expert tool, you need an expert operator. Just because the tools got better and easier to use didn't mean it didn't still require experts to operate it. So when people say that data science jobs are going to go away because of AutoML, to me, that's that person confessing, I don't know anything about data science. Sorry, I'm using a bad accent from my country that kind of says, I'm done. I shouldn't do that. But the point being is that's just idiocracy. Have you not noticed that a lot of data is dirty and needs to be scaled and needs to be conditioned, and feature engineering needs to be explored? And there's all these things that auto ML cannot do for you. So the promise of tools that replace humans, not going to happen. Now, should you work toward understanding transformers? Absolutely. Even if you never end up using them in your career, it's great to know about them. I know 3 guys. One of them's kind of the tech lead right now. They're building a framework for something that they think they can make a big business out of. And it's interesting. All this time they've been building the framework so that they can eventually try out a transformer in one little element of it. But they're not even there yet. And because they still had to build this basic framework. And did that framework require, they're all experts in their own rights in AI, but did any of that framework require data science knowledge? No, it only required someone to write some decent Python code and know how to use some modules. They haven't even gotten to the part where they use transformers yet. And so there's still a long road ahead for them, but you know, there's a good chance they could come up with a minimal viable product that they can get before some customers, and boom, it'll go somewhere. So any more questions on this, or would y'all like to move to another topic? And Yugo-san, did we cover this adequately, or should we, is there another angle we need to discuss?
Yeah, truly, it's adequate. It's a bit comforting.
Did you catch his question, Guy?
I lose his voice.
Can you repeat, Yugo? Oh, I think we may be having a connection issue with you, son, if you can hear us. Let's go to did anyone have more questions on this while we're waiting for Yugo? Maybe a queue, we're not sure yet. The Nigerian connection's usually not too bad, but I think we might have just temporarily lost him because I don't even see a
Dolly.
yeah, he's going to reconnect. So Tim's making a good point down here in the comments too. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, exactly, Tim. Very good points. Yeah, and by the way, I don't think Dennis would disagree with anything we're saying, by the way. He's speaking to those that want to advance from where they are now as, you know, pseudo experience, or I don't mean pseudo experience. I mean, established data scientists that are at some point in their career. He's encouraging them to learn transformers. And I don't disagree with him in encouraging anyone to do that. What concerns me is not what he's saying, but the way some people would interpret it, like, oh, I've got to go learn transformers. Well, not till you learn the stepping stones mentally to get there. Yeah, Tim, and rightly so. It's a good book. It helps people understand transformers. But Dennis has listened to my explainable AI talk, and he gave me a big thumbs up on it, because really everything that Gaith and I are saying to y'all, he would back up. He'd say, oh, absolutely. You want to know linear and logistic regression real well. You want to know decision trees and random forest and boost methods really well. Because at the end of the day, when someone asks you to explain the output from a transformer or a deep neural network, if you can't also use those other tools to help explain some of it at a high level, you're going to have a really hard time. You're always going to be using these wraparound tools like SHAP and Line. And, you know, that takes a lot of work. Whereas if you can show with a simpler model that's easier to explain what's really going on, people will accept that. And then you just say, we're only using the transformer or the deep neural network for more accuracy. But it doesn't, we got less accuracy from this, but it's easier to explain it. Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, you're back. So right before you dropped off, we couldn't hear your entire question.
My major fear with that was I was reading an article and they said the transformers enhance interpretability of AI tools than vanilla neural networks. So I don't know how that I don't know how correct that is, but since the world is moving towards interpretable AI, is that something one should worry about? Is it correct when somebody says transformers enhance interpretability of AI more than regular neural networks? I don't know how correct that is.
Guy.
Hugo, here's my answer, because I cannot answer this clearly. I don't have a clear answer from my own experience. But let's try. Let's find a way how we can explain transformer model, for example, that doing some task, and how it's easier to explain it. I didn't try it personally. I didn't work on it. So, for example, I can understand maybe because it will let's say the explainable, it will look like a kind of heat mapping you can do for it in the transformers level, and you can go for it without deeping on the okay maybe, but I don't have answer. But I think it's time you go for you, for example, to go and test it, test this concept. Okay, there is a claim here, and you have to come with answer about it. By the way, I have another suggestion or another answer about the AutoML in general. Why it's not giving you everything. AutoML also it's commercial tools, even if it's coming from Microsoft or Google or any other AutoML tool. So at the end, it's giving you what's possible to get according to the budget. If it's for free, you will get the free algorithms. So it's a kind of commercial tools. It will not give you a full, you are unable to build the product using AutoML. You have to do something before, something after, and even to decide if AutoML is helping you. A lot of times I used AutoML and then I rebuild the model after I got the AutoML winning suggestion, for example. So this is about AutoML, but about the explainability, I don't have answer. But I think Hugo, sometimes it's not enough to trust any reference. I'm not saying trust anybody. Reference. He's a great person, and he tests this by himself. But okay, if you have a doubt, go and prove it. This is my opinion. Test it by yourself.
This is a great point. Let me back up what Guy was saying. So Hugo, I don't remember if you attended these tech chats or pipeline class chats when we had them, but we were talking about principal component analysis. And I think it was in the tech time chats. And I'd come across a blog post where someone said, don't worry about the eigenvectors. They don't really help you understand anything better. And I went, what? Now, I didn't flame the guy that said that or, go report him or anything like that. I just said, okay, my kids, listen. There's a relation between the eigenspace where the PCA features live and the original space where the original features live. And the way you talk about how they relate to one another is through the eigenvectors. The eigenvectors actually tell you, oh, when you look at this PCA feature, it's this proportional mixture of the original features. That's important knowledge if you end up using PCA features in your model. So Hugo, you're going to hear a lot of things that might be close to correct, but a little off. or they may be way off. Just always be open to what you learned not being completely correct. Let me give you another example. I did extensive testing to disprove what I thought was being communicated as a requirement for linear regression, which was that, and I forgot to make this point in class today, that the feature values should be normally distributed. Now I need to go back and check where I read this. And even Ku, top voice for AI from Singapore, said, Tom, yeah, I even have a textbook where it still says that. And my professor was just like hardcore about that's a requirement. But no, it's not a requirement. We even had a significant statistician weigh in on this post and the experiments I did to say, we model all the time with uniformly distributed data. It's not normally distributed, and we get good answers. And I proved it. It's not a requirement, it's an assumption. But why is it an assumption? When we apply a p-value test to figure out the importance of coefficients, well, a p-value test assumes it's either normally distributed or at least student t-distribution distributed. But it doesn't mean it's an assumption that the analysis is built on. It doesn't mean that you can't throw uniform data at it and still get an estimate. So it's a basis. But boy, can you read just any one textbook to understand what I just said? No. Well, maybe one that's coming out, we'd like to say soon, but we never know. The point being, yeah, you know what? As you keep sharing, as you keep learning, Hugo and everyone else, as you keep studying, sometimes you're going to gain more depth in certain areas than the authors of the books you're reading. Now, when will that happen? Anywhere from 5 to 40 years from now, okay? We're always learning. We're always improving our understanding, hopefully. So I hope that helped.
Okay, thank you very much. One more.
Oh,
Would that be
with
too
a
much?
final thing though, Hugo.
Right.
With respect to the transformers, what you learned about that they give us more clarity or explainability. Hold that in your mind and say, I want to appreciate over the coming months and years why that was said. And I'm going to even remain open to disagreeing with him. But I actually feel sorry for people that just count themselves as experts and discount things people say right away as though they have the experience to do that. I don't think that's a good attitude, but it's a spirit of, when I heard you say that, I thought, yeah, to an extent, they do clarify a lot of things, but not everything. And that's key to remember.
Okay, great. That I know I've asked something close to this before. Andrew Ng, that's the guy at Deep Learning and at Coursera, has been pushing a lot about data-driven AI. I've been trying to follow the discourse on model-driven AI versus data-driven AI. Okay, so is there any particular benefits in English language, of course, because I've been trying to follow the discourse, but sometimes it seems like the language is a barrier and I don't get to wrap my head around the concept he's trying to explain. So is there any benefits to, let's say, a model that I'm about to deploy to production if I apply the data-driven paradigm of AI as against the model-centric paradigm? Is there like a compare and contrast thing? Is there any, what benefits do we stand to see?
Guys, I have an answer, but would you like to go first?
Okay, I will start from, maybe it's a harsh way to say it, but I don't think you are able to go to production with model-centric paradigm. It has to be data-centric paradigm because you are modifying the whole pipeline, including studying to change the algorithm that you build the model for it according to your tracking to the data status, data statistics, data distribution, studying the concept drift and data drift. All of this is data-centric paradigm. So I don't think there is a production with model-centric paradigm. Model-centric, that means you want to keep using the same model, the same algorithm, not the same output and input. No, the same model, and just retrain somehow. I don't think, or when you decide to change it, when you find that there is a new algorithm, just like you are using LSTM and suddenly transformer is helping you better. You didn't look for the data, you didn't make anything, you just decide to go for transformer and try to build your model. Not okay. The production process itself, for me, it's a data-centric. Since it's a product, it has to serve and continue serving. This is my, let's say, high-level answer about it. We can make some proofs or can make some study cases or use cases, but in general, this is my point.
Hugo, I have a brilliant friend who came up with an example for our book along this line. He calls it the vertical thinking versus the horizontal thinking. It was Geith, by the way. So have you ever seen an image of the first automobile created by Carl Benz? Hugo?
I may have seen it, but I probably do not remember right now. But I think I've seen something like that.
Let me give you an example. If someone was going to give you free of charge a replica of Carl Benz's first automobile, or the latest state-of-the-art automobile, free of charge, they were letting you pick, which one would you choose?
I'll choose the latest one. Obviously.
Now, Carl Benz was a genius coming up with that first automobile. But relative to modern cars, it sucks. Now, who was the real genius? Well, Carl Benz was a real genius, vertically speaking. But who made sure everyone could eventually have an automobile? You know who that was, Hugo?
This should be Henry Ford.
Very good. Yes. Henry Ford. He was the horizontal genius because he was able to take the concept of the automobile and mass produce it. Now, when we talk about model-centric, hopefully it's always a spirit of something like transformers. What's a new style of model we can come up with to help us with our stuff? But with the things we do. But if you're talking about actually serving the needs of humanity at a large scale, you need that horizontal genius. And for any model to perform well in a production environment, in a high throughput environment, we need horizontal genius. And it doesn't matter what model you're using. Goodness in equals goodness out. You've heard it, garbage in equals garbage out. When I was working in microelectromechanical systems, I was really struggling to focus electrons into a column. And I went to my friend who was an optics expert to say, Dan, I'm struggling to find a lens combination. He said, Tom, I'm glad you came to talk to me. I can save you a lot of time. You'll never, ever be able to focus those electrons. We have a saying among optics, and even though you're working with electrons, they're behaving like light, and it's this: dirty source equals dirty image. If you have a dirty input, you're going to get a dirty output. This is what we're getting at. So that's why all this data treatment, that AutoML can't always do all of it. And even if you're using AutoML, you need an expert operator to use it. You apply a more advanced model, that often implies you need a lot more data. And that means there's a lot more data cleaning that might be necessary, a lot more. And what's beautiful about transformers is they do their own feature engineering. But you talk to any person actually implementing something like transformers, let's say, you go up to them and say, I have a way we could reduce the feature count. You know what they're going to do? They're going to look at you and goes, tell me, that will make my life so much easier right now. You know, so it's still, just because we get this beautiful, new, powerful model, doesn't mean all that pre-work's not still super important. Is this making sense, Hugo?
Absolutely, Dad, absolutely.
Great questions. Okay, any more on this line of questioning? Any more answers to this line of questioning? Or do we have a new question? Oh, Kaishan, glad you're here too. And Aquib, brownie points for guessing Henry Ford. We all didn't guess Henry Ford. You answered Henry Ford correctly. So no more burning questions.
Sai.
What's that, guy?
Sai.
Oh, Sai. No, duh. Go, Sai.
I just need to go, I just wanted to confess one thing. I realized lately that I'm very weak with programming skills. And it is something which I thought to talk with you guys, because lately I was working on Kaggle with Yogita, and I realized when I was doing that stuff, I wasn't even able to recognize the packages also. Like it was like, what is this? So there is a family member of our integrated ML AI, Yash. So he doesn't come to the meetings normally, but he's somebody whom I always go to because he's very good at programming. So normally what he does is he just helps me with the code, and he's like, this is a code, bro, you can just use it. That's it. But it really, the reality hit me, and I'm like, no, I think I'm doing something wrong. I think I need to, maybe he's giving me code, maybe he's helping me, but it's not a real help. Maybe I need to improve on it more and more. So, but I don't know where to start. I'm like, presently I'm thinking, okay, I'll take a programming skills book and work on my Python skills, solving the back example and stuff like that for 2 to 3 months, and then come to the concepts, because it's like I know the concept, but I'm not able to write it in the form of a code, where I'm struggling it with a lot.
So this is the real art, Sai. This is a great question for the family. I sympathize. Now, I love to give analogies, as you know. So I'm going to give the analogy to this one. You and I come up to the edge of a river, and we don't see a way across, but you notice I'm not worried about getting across, because I know there's some rocks right at the edge of the surface, and I know where they are. And so you say, oh, Tom, you go ahead and cross. I got to go get something from the house, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cross. And I start very carefully making sure I see the stone, put my foot down, see the stone, put my foot down. I get all the way across the river. You show up, say, how did you do that? You look dry. So, well, my feet are a little wet, but yeah, just look carefully for the stones. You see the first one? Yeah. Okay. Well, you get impatient because you see that I'm already across. And you start trying to take too big of steps, skip stones. And then what happens is you fall in the river and you have to swim out and get back on, because you won't be able to swim to the other side the way the current is. So you gotta get out, and then you start over again. It's just do one stone at a time. Look very carefully till you see it. And it's going to take you 3 times as long as me, because you're not as skilled at seeing the stones under the water. And then you get across because you did one careful stone at a time. Took you 3 times as long as me, but the next time we came, took you half as long as me. And then after we've done it a year together, you're going, oh, I can cross it as almost as quick as Tom now. Now, this is the way it is with the coding. You have to understand, I think you really, even if you don't understand the math, at least understand the concepts of the math and how the code steps you through those concepts. If you understand that, that's a great starting point. When you have a chance to cross that river again, and that river of learning, try to go deeper. Try to understand the individual steps more. But I can't emphasize this enough. Even when I hand out code on LinkedIn, I try to remember to tell people, break it apart, play with each step, understand what each step is doing, and then it's yours. I had this amazing strength of materials professor. We didn't have whiteboards back then, they were blackboards. And he would even bring a string to make perfect circles. He would bring huge straight edges. His blackboards were a piece of art. He'd finish explaining things. It was better than textbook. He'd step aside and he'd say, okay, take good notes. He was Asian and with an Asian accent. He'd say, okay, take good notes, review carefully, and it will be yours. Meaning you want to understand the concepts. Then you know how to apply this to problems. And he was absolutely right. So Sai, enjoy the little steps, break it apart. And when you don't understand a specific step, you're only a Google search away. The sad reality, I can Google search 3 times faster than you and find what I need. Why? Because I've crossed that river so many times. But there's no getting around it. You're going to have to get good at, I want to understand this step better. Okay, I'm going to have to get good at knowing how to Google search this. I found a great answer here after looking at 5 Stack Overflow posts. Okay. Oh, and after looking at 5 answers for each post, this guy answered my question. Great. Oh, make sure I save a link to that. Make sure I have some prototype code that helped me understand this so that I create my own Sai overflow, right? Remember, you keep your learning directory, you make a directory under each, a separate directory under your learning directory for everything you learn. More about dictionaries, list sorting. You'll have at least 100 directories under that learning directory over time, at least. And you name those scripts carefully and experiment, make them simple so you understand the concepts. Sai, you take the time to do this, step slowly, you'll be an expert by the time you graduate. You're young. I'm gonna promise you something. Between now and the time you're able to have a deeper conversation with me and Gaith about data science, you're gonna go through some intellectual hell. But then you're gonna feel like, hey, I went through that. I went through the hard knocks. You know, it's like going to the gym and working out hard and seeing the results. You know, you're gonna feel that way, but up here. And everybody, you'll come to the family and everybody will say, Sai, flex your head. Oh man, that looks so beautiful. Sorry, bad analogy at the end there. Go, guy.
No, Ashish. Ashish?
Hello.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Sai, I'm assuming we answered your question okay.
Yeah. Small
hello.
step.
Go, Ashish, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm sorry, though Alexa disturbed me a bit. Okay. So Sai, I'm not an expert in any programming language, but just so give you see, as a software developer, where I work in Java programming language. language. Data science.
I think we are losing you,
Learning
Ashish.
on my own.
Your voice is
Hello,
like
is it better?
She's just an idea.
yeah.
Why don't you turn your camera
Hello?
off to help your bandwidth? And then, yeah, hold your mic closer.
Is it better?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay. So, sir, so like I work on multiple programming languages, and the experience I have had until now is that whenever you start with one programming language, it's nothing like you have to be expert in that. So what I mean by that is that let's say I want to write any sort of code that help me. I want to sort any particular array or any to know the algorithm, as Tom said that okay, I don't need to know all the packages involved every time. So but just make sure one thing, so you know the actual algorithm, that's fine, so you know you are great at that, and that's a really good thing. But when you first time search for the code actually for that particular solution, so if you want to implement a binary search or any bubble sort technique in Python, you search for the same on Google, and as Tom said, you maintain a Stack Overflow of your own. So that's a really great thing, that you should just make sure that whenever you Google something, you try to incorporate it into your deepest of roots in your brain, that you do not lose, you try to make sure that you get a grasp of it. Not just let go that I that and that's job done. It's like you every Google is like you are trying to learn everything from the internet. So that's one single step at a time you are taking whenever you Google any command or any query on the internet. And that kind of helped me widen my range of learning multiple programming languages as well. So I cannot even say that I can implement any particular code you will say in a particular programming language, but like after implementing the same today, searching it, I can say for sure that day after tomorrow, or even you call me after 5 years, 4 years, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to implement that on the same programming language. So just don't worry that probably you don't know any programming language or anything. You just need to make sure that okay, people have done other stuff. Don't compare yourself with any people, because they might have worked for 2 to 3 years in programming language, so they have an expertise. But you want something, that's a really great sign. So you can learn. That's a learning process. Maybe everyone was a beginner at first, so you can do in your own timeline. You don't have to compare yourself with anyone else.
Really great explanation, Ashish. I think keeping careful record of the code you've either used or created with as an example script of the concepts of how to apply that code, and keeping it the scripts named and the directories named so you can organize all this. It's hard to do much better than that. And then of course that coupled with good Google searches, and a lot of times you're going to end up at Geeks for Geeks, Stack Overflow, W3 Schools. There's a reason you end up at those sites for your basic Google searches, because a lot of people go there because they're that good. Guy, would you add anything here? Because I know you have a lot of good practices.
No, first I agree with you. I agree with Ashish. Ashish, he highlighted a great point, which is understanding the algorithm, understanding how to break your steps into algorithm. You go. I think he's remembered that previously on the camp. I explained that what is the 4 major component for any program. Now, program not following any pattern or any way of programming, either service-oriented programming or OOP. No, the program that mean which has a simple input and simple output. It's better to understanding like you are planning, for example, your daily routine. What's the kind of steps you are doing? You can find that you have information you get, you have something to show, and also you have repeated action, and also you have some conditions. Once you understand these four, beside you are able to break any task into steps of these four components, then you have the key to programming. Now, packages coming with experience. You have maybe your friend, he's working for a company or he worked for multiple projects and he knows these packages for this environment, programming environment, whatever it was. For example, it's yes, just like what Tom said, he will go faster than you in the first time. Okay. One more thing I want to add, there is the great point about the analogy that Tom said about the swimming and crossing the river. You learn something else, not only how to cross the river, you learned how to swim also. This is something important. What I mean by that, when you do a mistake, you are more powerful than a normal programmer who has only got the direct road to cross the river, for example, to perform the task. When you do the mistake, you are able to discover this mistake once again, and you will be also better leader for other people. The key here is the patience. You have to be patient about yourself. And again, I will back to the beginning of this session, the trust. Don't lose your trust because you didn't perform the task for the first time, or maybe one time you fail. It's a long journey. You are building your career, and the career is not decided by one program or one task. No. To be honest, not immediately, but once you solve the program or the issue that you are trying to solve, celebrate the fails that you pass more than the success itself. Really, because this is what give you the value of your work. Okay, since we are talking about somebody he's still learning, getting educated, and trying to find a way to go to the market. Still, you are not in the market. The market, it's more dangerous zone. But by the way, the same concept will be there, but it's more dangerous. The price might be higher. That's the only thing.
Does anybody remember the great quote I shared by Thomas J. Watson on the family chat just recently? I'll read it. If you want to increase your success rate, double your failure rate. If you're afraid to fail, you're afraid to learn. You're afraid to grow. So don't be afraid of failing more frequently. Yeah, so much to say on that. Very good discussion, Guy. Thanks.
I would
for
like to add
that.
something, Tom. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to call on you. Please go.
Yeah, Sai, don't wait like I will work on my Python for 4 months and then I will get into a project. Don't wait. Learn, implement, execute, again learn. That's how you do it. If you will say I'll get into Python, I'll read everything about Python, and after 4 months I will start working on some project. I think so that will take you longer. Instead of that, whatever you are learning, try to write a small program on it or try to implement it. That way you will remember it more and you will get more confident on it. Rather like I will learn only, I am learning for loops, then I learn object-oriented programming and all, and then I will start coding. Don't do that. Learn small, implement it, move ahead. Next concept, learn it, implement it, move ahead. That's the way to go. Because I learned Python like 7 months back. So that's my recent experience, what I'm telling. If I would have been like, no, I will not, I will understand everything and then I'll start implementing, I don't think so I could have done what I am doing right now. And frankly speaking, I am still yet to reach object-oriented programming with Python, but that is not stopping me from working on Python. I hope this helps.
Yeah,
That's a great point.
Yes, it's really great.
Point.
Yes. And to add to it, just one thing. Live your project, your test. Consider your program as a last program in your life. That will motivate your sense. That means everything you are doing, it will be kept in your skin, let's say. It will be part of you. But at one point, if it's failed, okay, don't forget whatever you do, but also don't be down. Okay, consider it a step.
Yeah. Actually, maybe what Ashish said, it's quite relatable. Maybe I'm comparing with others. Maybe that's where I'm not able to. I'm not able to do what I'm doing. It's like everybody is going so high, and I'm not doing. That feeling maybe has been in me. That's why I'm being impatient and trying to find some shortcuts. Maybe this is where I'm lacking. So yeah.
I'm tell you something. I'll tell you something. Okay, don't compare yourself to other in a way that, okay, I will never follow them. But yes, compare yourself to other to know exactly where you are. Also, don't lose that track. Okay, this will motivate you. Will motivate you to do better. But don't cheat yourself. Also, don't do better by getting ready-made things. No, but yes, motivate yourself by them. This is great. Okay, you are not jealous. You are motivating yourself. It's not like that. Okay.
A friend
Yes,
from
sorry,
my
Tom.
past. Oh, no worries. A friend from my past, I would go out on appointments with him, and this thing we were doing together, he could explain it to other people so good. And I remember feeling overwhelmed and saying to him, Lynn, I don't think I'll ever be able to explain that as well as you did. And he said, he looked straight at me with no hesitation. He said, yeah, you will. In fact, Sai, I think I learned to explain it better than him. But it took time. It took many appointments to get as good at explaining it as he did. And then I just found my own unique ways that help people more. But yeah. Ami, thanks for that great share in the chat. I hope everyone saw it. And what's your question or comment?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, very good.
Okay. Well, so I was going to add on something that Guy was talking about, which is about comparing yourself to, other people in the sense that you really want to know where you are and where you want to go. But I also recently I was listening to one of the motivation speaker, and there's one quote that he said that I'm really trying to internalize that, because he said that when you want to go far, you really want to also compare yourself to where you were yesterday or a couple months ago. That would give you a good sense of how much you are progressing, and he said that you should be able to also be happy with that progression. And when you've learned so much, and when you look back, you can see that that you've really made a very good progress, and so that also gives you that motivation to keep moving forward. And also, I have a quick question, which is kind of similar to what Sai was asking, which is when you're working on some project and where and you're using certain tools, sometimes you don't get enough time to dedicate on learning other tools. For example, if you're working on a project where you're using maybe more of like a Jupyter notebook, and you're writing like very small Python scripts, just to help you maybe to clean up data, but you're not like diving deep into like Python language, and you kind of feel like you're not like learning a lot of things about Python. You're not like advancing. You're just stuck with a few things that are necessary for that project. Like, should somebody be concerned about that? Should you be concerned about the fact that you're not like diving deep and learning all the tools that you need as a data scientist, or should you just like focus on what you need to complete a project? And if you go to another project, then you try to learn the tools that you need for that project.
Very good, Ami. That was very well put. Thank you. Hey, not trying to embarrass anyone, but iPhone. We'd just like to know who you are and where you're from, and if you have anything to add to the discussion or to ask.
Right, just a small thing which I wanted to ask. Like you
Well,
get
well,
and everybody.
well, wait a minute. iPhone, we just want to have the honor of knowing who you are and welcoming you, because iPhone doesn't tell us much. Are you? Oh, okay.
That might be Steve Wozniak.
Could be. I think I scared him away. That wasn't my intention. Go on ahead, Sai. You were going to say something.
Yeah, how do you manage time? Like you like how do you prioritize? And you do a lot of stuff, like you guys and everybody. Like you guys, how do you like do so much things and prioritizing and implementing those things? Like I wanted to know. That's it.
Okay. I'm going to give you a super honest answer, and I'll be surprised if everyone else doesn't feel the same. I'm just trying to keep breathing. Sai, the reason I'm not overwhelmed by all that I have to do is because I just got tired of being overwhelmed by it all. I just do my best every day. I make progress, but never the progress I want to make. When I was your age, it was so overwhelming, and I'm just very chill now. I do my best, and I realize, you know what? I'm tired. I'm not going to be very productive if I don't go rest. You know what? I'm hungry. I better go eat, because if I don't have adequate blood sugar, my brain's not going to operate properly. You know what? I got to quit making excuses because of COVID and start back up my exercise program. I'm not firing on all cylinders all the time. I'm just trying to tell you, and we've had talks like this before in the family. We're all overwhelmed. I think it was our beautiful Yogita who told us she bravely gave a presentation on being overwhelmed, and we talked through that. We're like, okay, we're all overwhelmed. So Sai, you keep refining your plan and doing the best you can. But one thing I didn't have someone to tell me when I was your age: have a plan. It's going to be crappy, but at least have a plan. And then when you realize where it's not working, try to refine it until you have a pretty good schedule and plan. Let's hear from others. Guy, going ahead. And yeah.
Yes, I'm the good example about what you are saying, Tom. Okay. I will tell you, Sai, first, I think the key is to think about how, not to think about how, to think about why. You have set a task and you have why, you have a reason to perform it. So the highest why, it will be prioritizing your work. Now, this is only talks, okay? Let's go to the reality. I'm the one who's breaking a lot of deadlines. I'm the one who's, yes, it's easy to break what I'm doing right now to do something else. I'm not planning my time well, okay? to be honest, okay, I'm not satisfied by my plans. When I was in the university, and okay, this is something I think in the college we are not working on semester system. It's per year. That means we are the first year, second year, something like this, just like the high school. So whenever I was very lazy student, and whenever we got the test schedule, okay, almost I have a lot of subjects and classes to test about it because I'm lazy. I have something still pending from the previous year and something like that. So I start by removing the dead courses, something that I will never pass. I know that I will never pass first. And okay, by the way, it's 5 courses. If I didn't pass them, I cannot go for the next year. This is the law in our university. So sometimes I was canceling 3 of 5 and gambling about the others. So this is what's happened, but it works. Why? Because I remove it's important, but it's not doable at all. I know it's not doable. So it's good to plan 2 things, to think about why, not about how, because if you think about how, we want everything. We are human. We like to have everything and do everything. This is something we cannot do it, but we cannot. We like to do, but we cannot. So think about why. Second, the dead, let's say, opportunities or tasks, cancel it. Trust yourself and cancel it. And at least if you are not going to cancel it, delay it, whatever was the cost for delaying it, because you know that you have to delay it. And trust your decision also. Don't change it according to other pressure. This is what I can say about it. And I'm not perfect. I'm doing a lot of wrong things, but this is my experience. This is what I did.
Yeah, as per the subjects, it's quite relatable with me too. Like I also have those in 11th hour, I get to know the syllabus and then I prepare. It's normally with everybody, but yeah, but when you are with friends, it just happens because everybody knows something. So everybody teaches you something. So at the time of the exam, you are prepared. So that's what happens.
No. I'm doing it in a very radical way, by the way. I'm canceling, just consider it, it's not there. This is, you cannot imagine my, sometimes I will call my friends to join and they will tell you exactly how I managed my graduation. Okay, Valerie, I think she has something to add.
Yeah, I was going to say, I totally can relate to what you're saying, Tom and guys, because I just same thing. I feel completely overwhelmed and like I've always got things that are competing for first place. And I'm some days it's like, oh my God, which one do I pick first? And how do I manage this? And what really came to light for me was I've been studying for accounting certifications, and I had to pass this big test. And I haven't studied or taken a big test like that in a long time. And so luckily it was 4 parts, and luckily I didn't have to take them all at once. I was able to take one part at a time, and I was able to pass, which was great. But I'm up now studying for my next certification, and it occurred to me that I've been out of this studying thing for quite a while, and like, how do I study? Like, maybe I'm just doing it all wrong. And so I went out to YouTube and I was like, okay, how do I study? What do I do? And I found this website. He's a doctor now, but he, puts together videos on helping medical students, how to study. How do you get into medical school? How do you get through medical school? Once you get through medical school, how do you, survive your residency and all that other stuff? So one of the interviews that he did, there's an author called Nir Eyal, and I put his book title and his name in the chat. And he wrote 2 books, interestingly. One is called Indistractable, which is the one I was reading, but he also wrote a book called Hooked. Tom, you're shaking your head if you've heard of this, because what's interesting about this is they said that Hooked is very popular in Silicon Valley because it's basically how to write software that people are going to use, how to write software to get people to keep going back and using your software. And so the Indistractable book is about, how to get control of your attention and your life, right? So he's got these two things going on. So I listening to his talk, I was very impressed by how clear and just concise and focused he was. And I thought, I gotta look at this because there's something going on with this guy that's pretty good. So I got the book and I started reading through it, and I thought it was very interesting. And I'm trying to work on using some of his suggestions. And, it's hard because making choices, and he talks about time boxing. And I've gone through a class as well on time boxing and using Pomodoro. And basically what it comes down to is when you do time boxing, you realize you have a limited amount of time and you have to make choices. And that's the hard part. It's making the choices of what do you actually do, because it's kind of like if you do one, you give up the other. Like, how do you do this? Because you can't do both. So I'm struggling with the same thing. I would just, this book I thought was very interesting. There's other books out there on time management and stuff, but yeah, I completely know where you guys are coming from.
Did I share the right book on when I shared the screen, Val? Did you see that?
Let me see. I just see, I don't
Oh,
see it.
I unshared it already. Let me share it again.
Okay.
So I looked up the book you were talking about. Here it is by Nir Eyal.
Yeah, this is Hooked, but then he has another book called Indistractable. D-I-S-T. D-I-S-T. No, you have Indestructible. So it's I-N-D-I.
Oh, Indistractable.
Indistractable. No.
Oh, Indistractable.
Exactly.
There we go.
Yeah, that's it. Because it's like, how do you control your attention so that you can focus? And that's what I noticed was he was like, when you're trying to study, like, how do you get pulled off suddenly to, something else? And, first of all, I'm studying and I'm working on this. And next thing I know, I'm over calling someone, or I'm working on an email, or what. It's like, no. What's the trigger? What's the trigger? And he said, it's really discomfort. And when we're looking to escape that discomfort, and so how do we manage this? Because we got to get stuff done. So you might want to give it a look.
Yeah, this is how we grow more together, sharing things like this. But I think what helps us grow even more better, I love saying that, more better together, is when we are honest. Yeah. Oh, in fact, this is hilarious. Garth and I start most of our calls with, I have a confession. Just so we can remind each other, neither one of us is perfect. We have life struggles. We get overwhelmed with this life at times. In fact, I had something very ugly happen to me. Well, it was really a revelation of something ugly that happened 4 years ago. And people I thought were friends lied to me about a lot of money they lost of mine. And I only found out about it because of a criminal investigation. So things happen. And Sai, I don't know how to say it. We normally would say you're in good company, but I think what we're trying to say is you're in equally overwhelmed company. We're just more chill about it because we've done it longer. Like, look at Val and I. We both look like we're about to fall asleep, Val, thanks. We need to have a Valerie corner. We have Dennis will be coming back soon, and we'll have pre-soup time with Dennis again. But do y'all notice who's missing today, other than Kim and Magdi and Manpreet and everyone? But do y'all know who else is missing?
Gozi.
Yep, she didn't show up to take her corner time. So, but see, Natasha.
Actually, I really miss Dennis' sense of humor. The amount of sense of humor he has, I don't think in the community somebody has, because he's very good at that, cracking jokes at a point. It's really fun.
I agree. No, he's awesome. He's a great brother to he won't let me call him Big Brother. He's that humble. He's brother Dennis. Well, this has been great. I think this would be a good time to break off. There's been some great comments. I wish
that we have some new people. One of my friends is in the house.
Yeah, please introduce them. You go.
Or can you say hi? She is hiding. That we have a lot of people who hide a lot. They hide a lot, and I don't know why they do that. So Ori is new. I think it's her first time joining us.
Yes, it is. Hello. Hello.
Very nice to have you with us, dear. Very nice.
Great being here also.
Ami, would you mind if I shared our private conversation with the family? I thought it was good. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that should be fine. Yeah.
I was worried that we had lost him when he wanted to ask a question. He said, I just wanted to hear your comments on what I shared, as I mentioned, I sometimes feel like I am not doing much to dive deep into Python or other tools that I am not using in my current project. With that, I feel like I am falling behind. And I said, that's why we help each other like a family. You will get there and we will all help you as we can. Keep working step by step to truly understand things. You will get there. And then I just said, thanks a lot, Tom. I highly appreciate this comment. Stay focused and just remind him we climb higher, more together. So guys, when you feel here's what happens, I think. You're growing at this rate because you're new. And then you see someone further along and they seem to be growing at this rate, and they might even be growing at that rate. But over time, your growth rate can do this. And that's why it appears that way. So how do you get there faster, everyone? Keep walking. Just keep walking. You got to keep going and stop though, and try to understand things better along the way. It will help you walk safer. Stop, pause, and really think, what's really going on here? And if you don't figure it out right then, that's okay. Just keep trying to figure it out eventually. You will. All right. Why don't we make this a good parting time? And this was great, by the way. Maggie was checking in because she couldn't call in today because of a family gathering, but she's been chatting with me a bit. And she was really excited that we did it this way today because we had discussed going back to having at least one of these a month, because this is how we started out. And I think we need to do more of these for sure. So any last comments before we say goodbye to each other?
Always a great session. That's it.
Excellent.
Hope
Yeah,
to see
Natasha
you
had
working hope to see you working on that project side. I'm waiting. I have stopped it. I'm waiting for you to add something in it.
Yeah, sure. I'll ask a lot of questions to you too.
It's okay. It's okay. You can always come and ask me anything.
Yeah, that's it.
Sai, Yogita is a pandas expert. Don't let her rest.
No,
Right?
I am not.
I was expecting that, Yogita.
I'm learning. I'm learning.
You know, even though we all Google search a lot, Google searching to what you really need quickly and then ciphering through the options that come up, that's a skill. But then once you start to look through the actual links and get quickly to the information you need, that's a skill. You'll get more and more skilled at all of these things. I kind of take it for granted, but I've got my 4 screens here for this one laptop, including the laptop screen. If you could see how I invite new people to our family and then welcome them once they give me the email address, add them, once a week, send the huge email list of guys to update the things. When someone else comes along and watches me, they're like, how did you learn to do all that? And I just look at it, they watch the way I code. How do you know how to do all that? I just say, I have 2 answers. Listen carefully. This is gold. Time plus pain. Suffering over long periods of time. Okay. It's a grind, but it's a fun grind. Thank you, Yogita. She gets it. I know Yogita's growing fast because she's a grinder. Time, pain, time. Oh, take a break. Time, pain, take a break. And with that, I'll give y'all a break from listening to me. All right, let's wave bye to each other. And hope more of you can come. Maybe we need another, I'm beginning to think we might need another midweek chat. Something might change in my life soon where my time Friday 8 to 9, I've been doing something in UL with data scientists just to socialize. I think we might agree to expand that outside UL if y'all would be interested. But maybe we should do a different time that works for more time zones. I'm open. So think about that. Yeah, thanks, Akui. All right. It's always hard to click the leave, but let's all try to do it at one time.